Next man up. Who is it?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day, whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you're downloading your podcast. This show is always free, and this show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it. I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on the classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. I had a feeling the offer to Demonic Williams' little brother from Oklahoma was going to put them over the top. So again, depending on your source, apparently, USC showed so little interest in Demonic Williams. He's now going to Oklahoma. Well, as I told you earlier this week on previous episode of Locked on USC, Oklahoma extended an offer to his younger brother. Again, that might have been the final solution, I guess. You know, the thing to help him to put it over the top, help him make that decision. Like I said, USC showed interest, had no interest. Again, depending on, the source you're listening to, the narrative of the day. I have a hard time believing that. And because basically you have two guys who are from Los Angeles who are now going to be playing for Oklahoma at a position of need. First, it was Jermaine Lole. Now you have Williams, 6'2", 320 pounds, 60 tackles, 9.5 TFLs. He had 4.5 sacks during his 2 years in playing for Texas Christian University. According to On3, he was the top available defensive line in the transfer portal. But we're supposed to believe that USC wasn't interested. USC wasn't interested in the price he was asking. Let's just complete the sentence. Here's what Dominic Williams said. And we're gonna change topics here really quickly, but I'm segueing into it. You'll understand why. So Dominic committed to Oklahoma. Where do I start? This entire process has been a whirlwind. Sooner Nation, I want you to know at the end of the day, I chose you because of relationships with Coach V and Coach Bates and the staff. They were genuine, and I believe in their ability to develop me as a man and as a player, and prepare me for the next level. I can't wait to get to work with my teammates. You will get my best version of me, of my best effort. I am a blue collar. I love to compete at the highest level. God bless, and Boomer Sooner. Good luck. I really hope he knocks it out of the park. I hope he has a great career at Oklahoma and on to the NFL. Again, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But in that quote, it sounded like he said all the right things. I mean, based on everything I've seen and heard from Coach Henderson, it sounds like someone Coach would want to be in charge of. I mean, you heard the words. I read it to you. That sounds like everything Coach Henderson's about. So I'm just wondering, I don't know. The cynical side of me, was that a veiled shot? Just saying. Look, don't call me negative. Don't shoot the messenger. But I'm sorry. That shouldn't happen. Shouldn't you be able to score at least one of those guys if you're USC? Remember, Coach Riley said this verbatim. He said this earlier this spring. An interior defensive lineman is probably the biggest need. God didn't make many of those guys. That's the most immediate need for us. Close quote. My definition of immediate means right frigging now. Been talking about the laws of supply and demand. Timing matters too. Look, Derek Harmon is USC's top target. Big young man, 6'5", 360 pounds from Michigan State. Colorado's involved. Ohio State's involved. Oregon is involved now. Michigan State is back into it again. look, this guy, he's going to get paid by someone. So now that we know that USC's going all in on Harmon, next man up, we need a couple of guys. Well, earlier, Coach Riley, the staff, Coach Henderson, Coach Nua, they sent out an offer to, his name is JVR Suggs, Grand Valley State, defensive tackle, Division II, 6'3", 282 pounds. He still has a couple of years of eligibility remaining. He's already spent 5 years at Division II Grand Valley State. So he's still got 2 more years of eligibility. I don't know if he'd stay for 2 years, but it's a 7-year college career. You're getting to Bo Nix territory now, right? Now, when he jumped into the transfer portal, this, I'm not sure if I could call him a young man. Just call him a man. He's already collected 40 offers. It's a good number. And I'm saying now that all the top-rated guys are, kind of off the board that USC was or wasn't involved with, the bigger name schools are now lining up for the more, I'll call them the more cost-effective pieces that you can use on your roster. The guys who maybe aren't demanding the $500K to $800,000 to $1 million annually. So this young man, this man, JVR Suggs, he got an offer from Michigan. He's got an offer from Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma's involved anymore. But Suggs, he's already taken visits to Arkansas. He's taken a visit to Wisconsin, and he's got a trip scheduled to Florida State. So, again, my rule when it comes to recruiting out of high school, if the big name programs see something in you, you're worth something, right? So it looks like USC is trying to get involved here. We'll see. This past season, Suggs had 21 tackles. 7.5 of those were for a loss, and he had 5 sacks. He also forced a fumble. He had 4 pass deflections, so he gets his hands up in the air. That's pretty good to see. And he appeared in 11 of their 13 games. So, Division II, we'll see if you got a lot of programs looking at him right now. We'll see if he wants to come out to USC. What I think everybody should take note of here, he's been at Grand Valley State for 5 years. He's from Flint, Michigan. Grand Valley State, Allendale, Michigan. Does he want to stay home? Does he want to get out of the Mitten State? Michigan looks like a mitten. When you're looking at Michigan on a map, it looks like a mitten. That's why you call it the Mitten State. You will learn something new here every day. A little piece of trivia. Here's another name that I'd like to see USC maybe circle back to. I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. His name's Chris Hardy, not the wrestler. Plays football. Defensive end. Jacksonville State. He will be a grad transfer. He's got 1 year of eligibility remaining. Let's see. Last year for Jacksonville State, when he was a first-team All-Conference USA, 61 tackles, 16 of those were for a loss, 8.5 sacks. He's got a body very similar to, the guys they're looking at right now. Why not, right? And look, I get it's Conference USA, but you made all conference first team? Yeah, I'd say so. He's got to visit, he's going to go check out University of Central Florida. Like I said, if we're going to be looking at a Division II guy who's been doing it there for 5 years, then, let's look here too. Similar measurables. CJ West, you've heard me mention his name a couple times. He's still out there. Is it time for panic mode? No, not yet. Still got time. Plenty of time. Don't worry. But I am going to move the War Games DEFCON alert away from DEFCON level 5 to level 4. Just so you know, again, a little piece of trivia for you here. DEFCON 3 is when the U.S. military goes into standby mode. Shall we play a game? If you know, you know. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On yesterday's episode of Locked On USC, your team every day, I talked about the defensive line and the offensive line. I was talking about the positive things. You know, guys looking like they're physically ready to compete. Once that opportunity arrives, they look physically ready. Real quick, let me get this out of the way. Major shout out and props to one of my most loyal everydayers. Always has a smart comment, always points something out. Walter Clark, thank you very, very, very much. Told you we're going to get a special shout out. And you know my 3 times for emphasis rule, so I mean it. Now, I want to piggyback, excuse me. I want to piggyback off that segment from yesterday's episode regarding the D-line. USC's defensive line, their freshman defensive line, they need to contribute this year in 2024. Absolutely. Yay. No red shirts are allowed. I'm talking specifically about the interior guys. Look, I have zero doubt that, guys like Cameron Fountain and Lorenzo Cowan, they're going to contribute as freshmen, at the very least, on special teams coverage. But with Carlon Jones coming in, allegedly weighing in at 313 pounds, thank you, Walter. Thank you, Justice Born. Thank you, Carter Sports. Ratumana Bulabalavu coming in that 290 range. Yeah, if that's true, then both of those guys need to be ready and be a part of the rotation. They need to come in and be able to help out Jide Abasari, who arrived in January. You've seen the pictures of him. I've shown you the pictures of Jide. And he got here early, but he looks like he's been in USC's weight room for over a year. Just not a few months. I mean, he looks really filled out. Here's what I'm saying. I say throw those guys' red shirts out the window. They're not going to use them this year. Now, unlike their incoming freshman offensive line counterparts, here's why. Here's why I say these guys do not get the opportunity to redshirt this year. The guys who line up on the defensive side of the ball, let's be honest, they have simpler goals. They have an easier job. There's less nuance involved. Their goal, get into the backfield, create chaos, get the ball carrier, whether it's running back, quarterback, whomever. Look, I'm not calling the guys who try and create that chaos, who play on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not calling them simple-minded. I'm not calling them dumb jocks. What I am saying, though, is that their learning curve is easier when you're comparing the two position groups. Everyone will agree. If you polled 100 people, 99.5 of them will say coming in and playing offensive line is more challenging than playing defensive line as a freshman. It just is. There's going to be an exception here or there. Now, so until Lincoln Riley, Eric Henderson, Sean Nua, until they decide who they're going to go after in the transfer portal, the freshmen have no choice. They need to be ready. And here's another reason. If they're good enough, regardless of their age, play them. USC's not in a position where they say, yeah, you're a freshman. You got guys with more experience. They're going to play ahead of you. USC doesn't have that luxury right now. Another reason, it's going to make a big impression on the guys who are committed in the 2025 class. They're going to be watching. They're going to see the stuff. And that's another reason. The guys coming in next year, they're going to, they're not going to be redshirt candidates either. USC's not there yet. And with so many guys moving on after this season, you got the 2024 freshmen, they're going to be veterans next year by default. So, you have, when you have guys like Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson and Gus Cordova, they come in as true freshmen. They're going to be looking up to the sophomores. Like, you guys have been here already. Show us what to do. There's not going to be that many old guys around to ask. So, changing the subject a little bit, not really. What are your thoughts on the redshirt policy? Keep it? Get rid of it? The transfer portal and NIL, I think it's changing the way the red shirt was intended to be used. I think it's going to survive college football's free agency era because of the transfer portal. And here's why. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I want to convince you, but here's my rationale behind it. You're allowed 2 transfer windows, right? You get one in the winter, right before early signing period, and then you get another one in the spring, the one that we just finished. Here's my example for you. Do you remember Rayleigh Brown? Of course you do. He was one of USC's highest rated recruits. He probably had zero intention of using a red shirt. Well, he got to USC and he kind of found out, okay, whoa, there were other players who could play the same position I play, and they're probably going to be just as good. So what Rayleigh did was, instead of wasting a year of eligibility, he put on the red shirt so he can wait for the next transfer portal window to open. Yeah, that's how it works now. That's why you got to play your freshmen. You got to make them feel like they're part of the program. Make them buy in. Kind of force feed them their medicine. So because of the transfer portal, mostly because of NIL, some players are going to use that red shirt loophole. I call it a crutch. So they can, extend their college career. So they can maybe go find another location with less competition and at the same time get paid again. Like I said, so you have players like a Rayleigh Brown, who very competitive, doesn't like a depth chart. He's going to say, you know what? I got paid. I'm going to go to Fresno State, get some more NIL. But now I'm going to get a chance to show my wares. I guarantee you, if he has a monster season, he won't be there long. We'll see. I could be wrong. I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves. And this isn't so much about Rayleigh Brown as much as it is about today's players and how they're just using the transfer portal and NIL for me first purposes. So, like, it used to be understood. Quarterbacks, offensive line guys, they redshirted in college. Not anymore. Quarterbacks play right away if they're signing those big NIL bonus checks. They just are. They don't get that luxury of coming into college, holding the clipboard for a year, learning how to play the game. That doesn't happen. Let's be honest. The only group now that really needs the red shirt is the offensive line room. Today's college football, like I mentioned, you got to get those freshmen on the field. Yeah. Make sure they're contributing some way, shape, or form. Burn that red shirt year. Because when you're young and you're competitive and you're not playing, all of a sudden your attention kind of gets diverted. You might be with a really hot chick, but you're seeing a bunch of other hot chicks walking by. And you're like, well, maybe I'll go over there. Maybe I'll go over there. So, red shirt, keep it, get rid of it. Does it still have a role? Has the role changed? I think the role has changed. In the past, players and coaches used to get together at the end of the year and say, you know what? Let's use that red shirt. The NCAA says, hey, you can play up to 4 games. It doesn't matter when you play those games throughout the year. You can spread them out. You can maintain your red shirt. Today's generation of players are getting smart. They're learning how to manipulate things. And I think they're learning how to manipulate the red shirt too, to their advantage. Make it rain. You can tell I'm a competitive person. You can hear it in my voice. I talk about it all the time, and I admit it. I am. Well, I also I'm getting into that Monopoly Go game. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded 150 million times. It's a great twist on classic Monopoly, where you play not one, hundreds of Monopoly games all over the world. Well, what happened there? I apologize. So it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world, get in time tournaments, earn huge rewards. So get in the game, join your friends, download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. It's time for my Friday's rant. Yeah. Question. It's a rhetorical question. If you're allowed to have an opinion on a player or a coach, then why can't I? This feels a little tribal, and maybe there's a tinge of tribalism on my part. But I am not a LeBron James fan, okay? Deal with it. Apparently that offends some people. So why is it different when I say trade LeBron compared to when a USC fan says that so-and-so, that player should never see the field again in his life? It's just an analogy. I'm just using it as an example. You guys are allowed to have your opinion. All of a sudden, I can't have an opinion. Why do we have to agree on everything? God, that would be a boring world if we lived like that. It's okay to have opposing viewpoints. It really is. I have my reasons. You have your reasons. Let's just agree to disagree. But don't tell me I'm not allowed to have an opinion because it might offend your feelings. Look, this is why you come to the show, because it's different than the rest. I give my opinion, but I support it with information that I'm trying to disseminate for you. I'm trying to give you another way of looking at things. Look, you don't need me telling you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, how great things are going to be. When there's good vibes, when there's good news, I spread it like wildfire. Right now, everything is kind of centered around the transfer portal. and specifically USC not filling their biggest immediate needs. That's why I talk about it so much. We're kind of in the moment right now. That makes sense. But at the same time, I'm sprinkling in some other stuff for you. Look, as we get closer and as we get deeper into this recruiting cycle, and we're into it, the coaches are on the road right now. Coach Jones, he's in Tennessee. You're going to get a lot more recruiting information. I'm going to pour it down your throats. Don't worry about it, okay? But when something's on topic and of importance, like USC's roster and the transfer portal, we're going to talk about it. That's why you come here, to get your news, your notes, all of your UNC information, 30 minutes or less. And when you're done making Locked on USC your first listen every day, you're heading on over to wearesc.com. If you're not a subscriber, spend $1. Find out why you should be. All right. That's it for this episode. That's my rant. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. But I'm just trying to understand where people are coming from. Do you have an opinion? I have an opinion. Let's share them. Let's support them. I'll be back again next week with another 5 episodes. Until then, everyone, you know what to do.